This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace.
Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant. And with me in yet another, I believe this is the fourth or fifth super secret location, Sean?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Sean Robinson, responsible for content creator relationships, Panasonic in the United States.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about this morning's release of this bad boy.
Yeah.
LX103?
Nah, close.
No. It's the L10. We're going to give him some crap about that. Claudia and I, behind the camera as always, were out yesterday, last night, and this morning, and we absolutely got some wonderful, wonderful shots. What happened to my office, Sean?
It's nice to sit down after walking and making the hikes around the city, isn't it?
Especially when no one has had any sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
So let's take this from the top. What is the purpose of this camera? But maybe before we get to the purpose, it makes sense for you to explain what precisely this is.
Well, it's a camera. Takes pictures.
Yes. Yes. It's nice that I'm not the only one who's stupid from lack of sleep. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So this is the L10, the LUMIX L10.
Special edition.
This one is, yes. This is the titanium gold edition. That's really, it's obviously, like I joke, like it's a camera, it takes pictures, but for us, I think that's actually a lot more important of a piece with this for us. We're known as video. Everyone knows us for video, but this is all about the actual, like, just feeling and the process of photography first and foremost.
Judah, yesterday, had me at joy.
Yes.
He wasn't interested in the specs.
Oh, yeah.
And you came up with a tagline with a colleague of yours.
Yeah.
Which we need to talk about because it
Yes.
goes to the essence of what this is.
Yeah. So, pretty much any product, any camera, any headphone, whatever it is, there's almost always like a tagline that goes with it. And it's usually, how can we sum up the intangibles of what we're trying to go for with these products? And with this one, the tagline was capture what moves you. And that came from a lot of, I'd say, like, introspective thought of, like, what is the actual goal of building another camera for the industry when you're in a time that much of what comes out is the same.
Well, you can say that the S-curve that the industry has been riding on for the last 10 years or so has been the shift from DSLRs to mirrorless. But like every S-curve, you eventually hit an asymptote, the plateau, and we seem to have reached that point.
Yeah. I think not for lack of, like, potential in innovation. I think more for lack of what is possible right now.
Sure.
Because there's always the aspirational idea of, we want to have the highest resolution or the fastest burst speeds and all that stuff. And, like, that's cool, but it's inconsequential many times for, as you said earlier, the joy of why do you pick up a camera? Why do you not use your phone for everything? Why do these things still exist?
You mean, yes, it's about the gear, but no, it's not about the gear. It's about the people.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that someplace before.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So the thing we've talked about all of this before, Sean and I, but I think it was yesterday when we were having this conversation, or maybe it was breakfast. I can't remember.
It's all a blur.
It's all a blur. But I really dug this. And I said to you, the notion of capture the moments that move you. First, I thought it was very clever. Oh, move video, and before I could get that out of my mouth, you said, no, it's what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And then I turned to you and said, I love this because we've reached the point where it truly is less about the camera than it is about you, the photographer, you as the artist. And by saying, capture the moments that move you, either you were advertently or inadvertently actually placing responsibility for the quality and substance of the image squarely on the person.
Well, and on to ourselves as well. It's, the idea of photography and videography to the same extent. I mean, like, we're not saying they're mutually exclusive in the world, right?
Of course.
In this world, they can't be. We wouldn't have this medium right now if it didn't exist. But the idea of technology is where it's at, image quality is where it's at, whether it, people like it or they don't, whatever. That's an individual's choice. But there's a thread there that's on the person. That's not like, you look at test charts and Xyla tests and all this stuff. Everything's very, very close.
Yeah.
So what is the next thing to actually do if you're going to build a camera for today? You have to focus on the emotional. You have to focus on the tactile, the experience, that joy of why you are choosing a camera to capture moments, to go back and if we go super philosophical or super old school on this, the whole, idea of the decisive moment and that kind of a concept that I think is very lost these days in photography being treated as a commodity, not as necessarily an art that can also be a commodity.
It's interesting that you say that. First of all, I love it when you talk dirty like that. But the second thing is that I had the privilege and pleasure, the honor of interviewing the executive director of the Henri Cartier-Bresson Foundation almost 8 years ago now, Claudia, was it? Anya Sear.
Yeah.
And she said that Cartier-Bresson hated that phrase, the decisive moment.
Yeah.
And the reason why he hated it is because he hated being pigeonholed, and because the decisive moment is made of so many different components.
Yeah.
And he was the one who famously said, the ideal photograph, I'm paraphrasing, is when your head, your heart, and your eye align.
Yeah.
Those three things have very little to do with the gear, everything to do with the person. Although, to be fair, He had
Yeah.
planned on being a painter.
Yep.
But a camera this small and this easy to use, especially when he could farm off development. I don't care about exposure. If I got it right, printing, farm it off to someone.
Yeah.
You know, that was it for him. So fine. We have the context for which you bring the L10 to market.
Yeah.
So I gave you last night about the name of the camera.
Oh, yeah.
We will get to that, but let's back up and say, what are the components of this particular camera?
Yeah.
From the shell to the sensor to the processor to the EVF, where do they come from? I mean, it looks like what an LX100 III should look like.
Yeah.
With one difference that you pointed out, which is, well, it's not an LX100 variant because it's now got a PSAM dial or a PASM dial as opposed to a shutter speed. Take us through it.
Yeah. So there's a lot with this in general when it comes to the actual like physicals of the camera, right? There is strong pride with the companies whenever you hit a milestone in longevity. And for Panasonic Lumix, that's this year. That's 25 years that Lumix has been making cameras. I believe Yuta had stated that this camera represents the 255th camera that we have released under the Lumix branding. So that means that you're going to put a lot of attention to detail in material choices, in the technology choices, but more importantly, how do those things fit for today? Not spec chasing or anything like that. So when we look at like, choices that were made here, for one, it is a fully metal body. It is an aluminum top and base plate. It's a magnesium front plate. We're used to having those things in our higher end cameras. Not so much in the point and shoot or the compact camera. Most of the time, they tend to become plastic or polycarbonate to save some cost. They usually don't need the thermal reliability because they're usually not pushing things super hard.
I'm sorry, we just have to put an asterisk there. I know we will come back to thermal management.
Yep.
That's an interesting choice of words, management, about this camera, but it makes perfect sense when we get there.
Oh, yeah. So with all those, kind of material choices, it brings up well, what do you want it to look like? What is the kind of aesthetic that makes sense for the 25th anniversary? And gold is often used as a kind of physical representation of 25 years in an anniversary. So knowing that we did the titanium gold for the S9s, that has a very specific application process and there's a lot of care and attention put into it, it made sense with this platform to continue that. And then go into the Saffiano leather texture design here. So, a little more upscale for those that, don't follow it, like materials like I don't. I had to look up what it was when they told us.
I'll have to look it up after this is over.
Yeah, but it's a very like specific kind of texture with it. The fit and finish, the choice of the different dials, the knurling that's done on the camera itself, the wrap completely around instead of leaving just the plastic on the back of this. The thought process of making sure that the battery and the memory card are separated so that you're not in one port, you're in two. Even down into the choice of, it's only got a USB-C out. It doesn't even have an HDMI port on this. I know I'm going very technical with a lot of this, like all the kind of core bits, but ultimately, I think if there's one takeaway for a lot of people with this that ties to the 20th anniversary it's the concept that it is Lumix designed in Osaka. Osaka is the birthplace of Panasonic. So bringing people here, going on the idea of these more premium materials, the collaboration here with Small Rig on matching accessories for it that are color matched.
Very nice job.
That whole thing is the pride that we have, knowing that tech-wise, we've got the hardware. Hardware-wise, it's effectively a G9 Mark II in a smaller chassis with some thermal considerations.
Some thermal limitations because you are using the technology photography forward in an envelope designed to be as small, unobtrusive, and light as possible. That makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
But what you've literally done is you've taken the sensor from the G9 Mark II, the processor from the S1 Mark II, and that's some powerful stuff.
Yeah. And it really reinforces that point that, like, sure, can we sit and talk about specs and how is this going to perform and how many frames per second is going to have? It's like, yeah, sure. It's a known quantity, though. So,
Right.
okay, we know how the image quality is going to pretty much perform out of the camera because we already have known references of G9 II, GH7 that share the same base sensor.
Right.
But what do we do on that experience? What do we do to harness all of that equipment and put it into a piece of equipment that you're actually going to want to pick up and bring with you everywhere? And not in the cheesy way of, like, the best camera is the one you have with you. I think that's a super cheesy phrase, but I understand and I believe it. But it's the idea that when you pick this up and when people pick this up, if they go for the titanium gold edition, people, I think, will get the same feeling of the pride that the team put into designing this to truly disappear, to go to that point where everything is in alignment.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about, well, how many megapixels do I have or whatever. It's no, I'm in this moment.
It's so interesting because Claudia and I shoot high megapixel cameras, the highest. Yeah. And that was a clear choice because we shoot on the street and I'm getting too old for this. I want to carry light. I don't want to feel my back, my shoulders, my neck, my gut. No, everything, everything. And so something like this, I mean, this is why my primary camera, you know what it is. It's not your brand, although it is your brand for all of our video work. And it has been for years because it works. Great thermals, relatively speaking, great menu system.
Yeah.
But that does bring us to a couple of points. The sensor with this processor allows for excellent hybrid phase detection autofocus.
Mm-hmm.
We've experienced that. But I know I'm not the first person to tell you this because, guys, we give a full take on things that, as with every camera manufacturer, how the company decides on what the factory default settings are defies imagination.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Claudia is very proper and she curses. I know you do, curses like a sailor because things are not where they're supposed to be, or a small touch and all of a sudden I'm into some other menu. She's into some other menu. That's one of the reasons why we were never going to do a video based on a few hours.
Yep.
Because about 4 hours of pulling our hair out, it was, oh, wait a minute. You can set everything. So the default on this dial was exposure value.
Yep.
And all Claudia wanted was, I have the aperture right there. Great. I want the shutter speed right there. Don't tell me I have to menu dive for that. And I want the ISO right there. Don't tell me, because having a dial on the back, which Canon pioneered decades ago, it was a terrible idea then. It's still a terrible idea now.
No comment.
But it's workable. It's really workable.
Yeah.
And guys, what I want to say to you is this. First, I want to ask a question. How many of you actually print at all? The second question is, how many of you print larger than 17 by 22? Claudia and I have up to 50 inches on a side in our home. It's a modest home. We've already run out of wall space. But I want to tell you that even when we crop on this, which is 26.2 spec, but there's a difference between the 25 megapixels that shows up on a G9 II file and the 20.2 megapixels that shows up on this camera's file, even though this is the same sensor.
Welcome to the world of multi-aspect ratios.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. I just want to say that it looks like, and we've done this with other cameras like this before. In fact, when I tested the 100 LX2, I think, what is it, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
I said it had the best ergos I'd seen since a Q. And this really is terrific once you dial it in.
Yep.
We'll probably cover that in another video or maybe another chapter of this one, because we will tell you how we set it up to shoot street. And Claudia is grinning behind the camera on that one. But it is a technical issue. So
yeah,
you tried to explain it to me. I think you did a good job. It's just that I still don't quite get it. And the reality is the difference between 20 and 25 megapixels is not that big a deal. The fact that this has 3 megapixels effective more than the LX100 is not that big a deal. But there are some people who are out there who want to understand it. So
yeah,
multi-aspect ratio.
So for people that have been around with the LX series, they probably have an idea of what it is. So if we break it down to its most core concept, effectively what it is that you have a 4:3 sensor in this camera. So that's the native aspect ratio of the sensor that we use.
That would be because it's micro 4/3.
Yeah. The only difference here, you can't change the lens on it. But when you are working to build a more compact camera, or in our case, very early with some of the GH line cameras, the concept of multi-aspect allowed us to be a little more creative with how people were using cameras back in the day. When resolutions were much lower, changing aspect ratios had a much bigger impact on the output resolution that you had. Because if you start with a 4:3 ratio, and you want to go to, if you want to go to a 1:1, you're lopping resolution off the sides. You want to go 16:9, you're lopping resolution off top and bottom. The consistent point there is that you are just cutting resolution out. There is no positive gain to traditional sensors and cropping them for aspects. What multi-aspect allows us to do is, instead of using a projected image from the lens that covers the entire sensor, you're using a slightly smaller region of it. But what that allows us to do is that we can still keep the 4:3 ratio, albeit a little bit lower resolution than what the full sensor is. But now when we make that 3:2 aspect ratio change in camera, instead of lopping the sides off, we're just adding height. We're still pulling sides off, but we're also adding height at the same time, because the image now fits fully within the sensor.
So we talked about this yesterday, and you pulled up a couple of diagrams. So the field of view measured on a diagonal is the same across the different aspect ratios.
Yes.
But I had said to you as well that for the first time using a medium format camera not all that long ago, I saw that for the same horizontal field of view, a 4:3 or 5:4 actually gave more headroom, and that could be meaningful. So the essence of what you've accomplished is that it's about the same resolution irrespective of aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And that's the trade-off that you chose to make.
Yeah. And for modern use cases, is the, relatively minor percentage of difference in resolution ultra important for delivery? Not necessarily. Multi-aspect sensors are really more important for that field of view change. So that if I know that I like shooting in 4:3, I'm not penalized when I have to go to 3:2. If I want to shoot, typical mindset, 35 millimeter being a 3:2 ratio, you're not having to think, if I go and I print this somewhere, or if I do my framing, I'm going to have to think about my headroom, because maybe I want the 4:5 or the 3:4 or the 2:3 or 3:2. Because the image itself can basically self-correct vertical and horizontal proportionately, that angle of view stays the same. That's more important for people, I think.
So I'm going to try this again. 28 millimeter field of view on a 3:2 full frame camera. A 4:3 on this camera. 28 millimeter horizontal field of view. will the 4x3 have more headroom than the full frame 28 horizontal?
Effectively, but so in the cameras, the field of view is not measured in the horizontal.
I know.
It's measured on diagonal. And that's where the multi-aspect shows, because instead of having, like, if your sensor comes to an edge here and your lens coverage is outside of that, you can't go any further than that boundary. When the projected image area is inside of that, you now, depending on the resolution, you now have multiple points that you can butt up to the edge of the field of view. So that's how you can shift and make sure that your diagonal field of view stays the same. So in the most basic sense of it, it's that for framing, for people that want to work in camera, for framing, you don't have to think anymore, what is my crop going to be? What am I going to lose in this landscape, in this street photo, where a millimeter difference could be part of a light pole being in the frame and not? Versus if I'm shooting on a traditional sensor that doesn't have multi-aspect, I now have to give up my resolution and change my field of view, which changes the perspective that you had in mind when you looked at that image and you captured it. You now have to keep that in mind and give up your field of view to fix anything like that. Where this, it's as simple as just make the change.
Oh, I already changed what that dial does.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with aspect ratio. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time and then I'm going to let it go because there are other things we all have to do and you've been great. But so if I have this in 3x2 aspect ratio and I set this 28 millimeter field of view, and I'm looking at a scene where there's a telephone pole right at the end on each side, will I see that telephone pole irrespective of aspect ratio?
Yes.
Okay.
The difference that you'll see is they might have a very subtle difference wider. Because when you change out of 4:3, you will get wider with each progressive change.
Okay.
But they will always be there.
Okay.
Because diagonal field of view stays the same.
And looking vertically, so vertical field of view
increases.
That will be different. Got it. I'm happy. I will always shoot 4x3 on this camera because it is different than I understood in the past.
Yeah.
There's no resolution sacrifice. The horizontal field of view is going to be constant. 28 millimeter full frame equivalent will look like 28 millimeter. As far as what's in the frame, I have more headroom.
Yeah.
So when the Blobfest comes out in July in Phoenixville, I can get the entire Colonial Theater marquee.
Yeah.
I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
Oh, I know one thing that we should cover.
Lay it on me.
I gave you some about the very nice script that Small Rig created for this. Really nicely done. Nice purchase. A hot shoe mounted thumb rest, which is nice as long as you don't need to use a
Use
flash.
the hot shoe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Claudia is enjoying the Godox on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I said, well, by having someone else do this, you weren't able to take advantage, or you chose not to take advantage of the space that would be available if it were part of the shell to put in a bigger battery. And then I realized this is the same size battery. It's the same battery. Is it 2,200 milliamp hours?
So it's the BLK22 battery, which traditionally the model number tells you the milliamp hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a 2,200 milliamp hour, 16 watt hour, 7.2 volt battery.
So this is the same battery that I'm using in the S1 II and the S1R2?
And the GH7 and the G9 Mark II and the S9 and
all of it.
All of them.
Yes. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. We keep it simple. So that's a big deal. And that's really nice because that's a nice sized battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kept the 1953 Gene Barry War of the Worlds cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's color matched this time.
Yes. I see that it is. Well, Sean, as always, it's great spending time with you in secret locations.
Yeah.
They're
always more exotic each time.
Yes.
And they're never in our home cities. Except maybe once.
Close.
Close, because we didn't actually have a conversation like this in an undisclosed location in that city that one time where those other people were at too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I know we're all functioning on negative sleep.
Yes.
Claudia is rock solid, handheld on an iPhone. Oh, and she's showing off now, one-handing it.
She's doing backflips.
Yeah, and gimbal. What's a gimbal? 360 cameras. But we do need to eat before we go on to our next event.
Yes.
So let me pull this off just long enough. Someone's got to work on that and say, as always, it's such a pleasure, man.
Yeah. I love catching up with you, man. There's not enough opportunities, I think, where, you can actually just sit and hang out with like-minded people and not have to just sit and, just focus on specs.
Yeah.
It's enlightening.
It is enlightening, and it's really exciting because that's where photography really should be.
Yeah.
Again, yes, it's about the gear, and Cartier-Bresson was a perfect exemplar of that.
Yeah.
Because that small camera is what allowed him to do what he did, but it was his eye, his head, his heart, his gut. And in this camera, capture the moments that move you, puts responsibility for the ultimate value and quality of the image back where it belongs. And that is on the photographer and the photographer's relationship to his subjects in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, Sean Robinson from Panasonic, Content Creator Relations. And for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, let's start walking back.
Yeah.
I'm Hugh Brownstone. We'll see you next time. That was great, man.
Yeah, man.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes. E-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling. Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comment section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video call via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost you affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.